was a horrific mistake. Governor Gavin Newsom called it pathetic and a surrender. Poll after poll found more Americans on both sides of the aisle blaming Republicans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed the GOP. As you mentioned, Democrats had big wins last week, so you had momentum. Why give in now? Why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are wrong.
Well, first of all, MTG is quite literally the last person in America that I'm going to take advice or to get their kinds of my leadership and values from. And now if Democrats are celebrating crazy pants like that, then that's on them. And now I don't need a lecture. I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because they are representing very deep blue kinds of populations. And a lot of those things were part of the extreme. And now remember, what really needs to win, the big win, is involving my state.
Look, I don't know where to start. Where do you want me to? I was on MSNBC. We were talking about Donald Trump starving his own people. Yeah. Like Saddam Hussein gassed his own people. Trump with the SNAP benefits was literally starving his own people. We were going to talk about that. And then the news broke right before we came on that a deal might be happening. And then we're sitting there on air at 7:45. And Kevin Fry, who was an MSNBC Capitol Hill reporter, came on to say the deal is reached. And he made an amazing point that the media should cover more. Chuck Schumer was barely involved in the negotiations between Republican leaders and the 8 Democrats. He took himself out of it. That's not what a leader does. You don't take yourself out and then go, I'm going to vote against the deal. Like, that is just horrible political calculation. It's craven. It looks awful. And that was the point why I said, he's got to go. I really was upset with that. I was upset with that more than the Zoran thing. You didn't endorse Zoran. You wouldn't vote for him, but that's not why you should go.
That's the other reason he was out of step. He's out of step with his party. I keep saying, Dean, and I know you talk to Joe all the time. Joe Walsh says, it's got to be a big enough party for there to be a Joe Walsh and a Mondami in the same party. And I don't know what Chuck Schumer's problem was. He should have gotten behind, what was clearly a huge movement in New York City, right?
I think there are multi-reasons, but one is Chuck Schumer is funded so much by Wall Street. If people Google Wall Street and Chuck Schumer, you'll see all the money he's gotten for years. He's viewed as a protector of Wall Street. And I think they view Zoran as somehow a threat, which is a joke because the wealthy will still make more money. Every time something changes, the wealthy make more money. It's just remarkable. A recession, economic boom, they make more than us. In a recession, they become more billionaires. That Wall Street's going to be fine. Yeah. The billionaire class is going to be fine. They'll be upset for a day. They'll talk about the Hamptons and their private jets. They'll be back. New York's an amazing city. But Chuck Schumer's at it. He's also not a good fighter. His idea of getting media attention is going on the Senate floor, nobody's there, and pointing at a picture on his easel. You need people who are more creative in this time. And that's what, Jasmine Crockett does. That's what Zoran did unbelievably. I mean, I watched this guy from a year ago when he announced he had a few thousand social media followers, and he went out in the street and talked to Trump supporters about why'd you vote for Trump. And little by little began to build, and other young people gravitated to him. And they see something in him. Younger New Yorkers see someone who's talking about the things they're going through, which is they can't afford anything. Yeah, New York is outrageous. So that's the message, was affordability. It has nothing to do with the Middle East. He was not talking about the Middle East at all. All he talked about was free buses, free childcare, freeze the rent. That was it, over and over and over. People want to talk about other things. People heard what he was really talking about. This is it.
I mean, the bigotry is, I'm sure you heard this story. Pritzker calls out racist ICE for detaining an Indian U.S. citizen and interrogating him about Mamdani. In Chicago, an Illinois Department of Transportation employee was stopped by ICE agents while working on a Park Ridge construction project and questioned about incoming New York City Mayor Mamdani before being released. Governor Pritzker, speaking about the incident, calling it another example of Trump and Kristi Noem's continuing to question U.S. citizens apparently based on the color of their skin. He's an Indian and a U.S. citizen, was stopped and questioned by agents while working on a resurfacing project. 3 agents wearing masks questioned him about his immigration status and also asked him if he traveled to New York and was aware of the mayor-elect in New York City. I mean, isn't it amazing to people all over the country that have opinions that have never been to New York? That
Well, I mean, I have to be honest. All brown people, we connect online. So,
Yes, yes.
So to be fair, he probably is part of the club. But no, look, it's remarkable. I have to be. I'm not saying this to plug the festival because I know later we might.
I was
talk
just
about
going to say, to your point, this in its 22nd year, the New York Arab American Comedy Festival returns to Joe's Pub. Because why? Because Muslims are taking over New York.
That's right. We've been here for 22 years, and the festival's not religious. There are Christian Arabs, Jewish Arabs, everything. But the point, honestly, is for 22 years I've done this festival. We've been on Facebook ever since Facebook began.
Yeah.
We never got hateful comments on our Facebook page until this year. The last month has been off the charts. It is vile, before Zoran won, vile, anti-Arab, anti-Muslim. The dummies think Arab and Muslim mean the same. And now when Zoran won, they are like, look, New York's dying. I'm like, we're 22 years old at the festival. Zoran was 12 when we began our festival, okay?
Yeah.
He had nothing to do with this festival. This was us. But my point is the level of emboldenedness of the Trump supporters and being violent. And look at Trump today pardoning all the election deniers, even though people were not charged with federal crimes. He's going to pardon all the ICE agents. They know that. The Customs Border Patrol, he's going to pardon all of them. So they believe like they're above the law. That's what makes them so dangerous. And that's why we need state prosecutions of some of these ICE agents.
Yeah. No, I agreed. So you wrote a great piece, as you do. New York City, New Jersey, California, Pennsylvania, and more just punched Trump in the face. I mean, I think that's why, the no kings and then these amazing results on Tuesday. It's just you have to admit, like, this knocked the wind out of us last night. We're like, that. What we said was F Trump and stand firm, fight. Right? I mean, that was the message.
Yeah, there was just a poll a week ago. 81% of Democrats wanted the Democratic leaders in Congress to stand the line, to hold the line. And so, look, if you look at this objectively, these 8 Democrats or 7 Democrats in Angus King, they knew it was going to upset the base. They also knew that it could zap some enthusiasm. And I don't want to be that calculated to say they didn't care. They did it on purpose, but they didn't care about it. So I'm glad I see people online angry. I always tell people, listen to my show, don't get despondent. Channel your inner Sicilian.
Yeah.
Like, I'm half Sicilian. Mad. Go get a baseball bat. Talk about things like, we're going to go talk to these people. Like, you got to get angry. Never be despondent. So look, I'm glad people are angry. That's what I see more of. But it makes people question the Democratic Party's desire to fight. I'm glad a lot of Democrats stood up and spoke out. Ro Khanna called for Chuck Schumer to go. Many Democrats, Chris Murphy, Bernie Sanders, AOC.
Newsom, Gavin Newsom said this is pathetic.
Gavin called it pathetic in one word. That was great, J.B. Pritzker. So I think years ago, you may not have seen this flood of Democratic elected officials to criticize something other Democrats were doing in the Senate. But times have changed, and they know the base. We're much more demanding, and we just delivered a big victory. You want more victories? Hold the line. Keep fighting. Don't give in.
And, Chris and I have been saying all morning, like, I get that we're saddled with decency and that we actually give an F about people starving, about people losing health care. Like, and that's what they count on. Like, we literally are negotiating with terrorists or sociopaths that just don't care. So just to tell you what Angus King said this morning, I get the reasoning. And also, these 8 Democrats aren't up for re-election. You know what I mean? So but he said, you have to go back to the strategy was at the beginning of the shutdown. There were 2 goals, both of which I support. One was standing up to Trump. The other was getting some resolution on the ACA premium tax credit issue. The problem was the shutdown wasn't accomplishing either goal, and there was practically it was zero likelihood that it was going to. In terms of standing up to Donald Trump, the shutdown actually gave him more power, Exhibit A being what he's done with SNAP and SNAP benefits across the country. And he said, guess who's getting paid during the shutdown? Not the park rangers or air traffic controllers, the ICE agents. Under special law, under that big awful bill they passed last summer, ICE agents are being paid. Nobody else is. So standing up to Trump didn't work. It actually gave him more power. This is his rationale. Even Donald Trump admitted the government shutdown is what caused Democrats to win the election in historic fashion. Joe Scarborough said. Yeah. I hardly ever say, good point, Joe. But King said at some point there's diminishing returns. As I say, the strategy was let's bring the Republicans to the table. It didn't happen. It wasn't going to happen. There's tremendous collateral damage from this. In the meantime, 42 million Americans' SNAP benefits are at risk and being lost. People aren't being paid for the work they're doing. I don't want to land in an airport in the U.S. with a sleepy air traffic controller. If the strategy isn't working, you change tactics, and particularly you change tactics if your own troops are at risk. So I understand it, but this plays into the narrative that Democrats are weak, right?
I know, that's the problem. I'm getting emails from people
Right.
and text messages from friends who are like, what's going on with the Democrats? It was only 7 Democrats and an independent. So keep in mind, Democrats, 99% or 98% have been holding the line. So I hope that our fellow Democrats who are listening, or Democrat adjacent people who might not be Democrats, but they support us, are saying, look, overwhelmingly, we are fighters. Don't let our party be defined by the few that are not fighting. They still had
get rid of them. Get rid of them and get some real progressives in there. And,
Right. So
and it's not about age. You know, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders are out there fighting the good fight. You know, we were saying this would never happen to Nancy Pelosi. What Chuck Schumer? This is the second time Schumer's caved.
And that's what I said last on MSNBC. If Nancy Pelosi was running the Senate, instead of the House when she was running, you would never have seen them break like this. Nope. They would have stayed strong. Here's the thing. In the deal they reached, they actually are funding things like military construction, FDA, and other things. So you're agreeing to fund certain things, but not ACA. Why did you agree to fund anything? Just do the clean CR then and go like, we're just going back to status quo. And I bet you John Thune's going to let them have a vote in the Senate. The House is never going to have a vote, so that means nothing. Because John Thune is trying to be a gentleman about this for what it's worth. They probably have a vote because he knows it's dying. So have your vote, doesn't get the 60 votes, and it's dead. That's it.
It's meaningless, right? I love this is even causing mother-daughter trouble. Democratic congressional candidate Stephanie Shaheen trashed the shutdown-ending deal crafted by her own mother, Senator Jean Shaheen,
that's right,
Democrat of New Hampshire, calling health care the cause of my life. As the immortal Prince said, maybe I'm just like my mother. She's never satisfied.
That's right. This is Shakespearean. I like this very much. This is kind of cool. And look, that's where the party is. Again, 81% of Democrats, according to a Kaiser poll, Kaiser Foundation, wanted to continue. To me, the upset thing is Chuck Schumer and Democrats just lost on an issue that has support. About 75% of Americans think the ACA subsidy should be reinstated, including a solid majority of Republicans. And we lost on that. And to me, the failure of Schumer was not to win the media battle on this. And it's hard with Trump, I get it. But standing in the well of the Senate and holding a picture next to you and pointing to something on the easel is not how you do it. That's why we need a generational shift there. He's just not the right person anymore. That's all. He's not the right person at this time. Years ago, fine. Now he has to go.
We need a wartime Sicilian. That's what we need.
We need a consigliere. Yeah, exactly. I am half Sicilian, so I can be your consigliere as well as your Muslim Sharia guy, combining the best of both worlds, the mafia and
Oh, if I was in power, you'd be my, Vinny the Chin or whatever.
Thank you very much. I'd like that.
or my big C. You know what I'm saying? My guy. You've been my guy. My Joey Walnuts.
He doesn't know.
Hey, it's John Fugelsang, and somehow my book, Separation of Church and Hate, has been on the New York Times bestseller list for 6 blasphemous weeks. It's for believers and atheists about how to use the Bible when dealing with the right-wing Christian fundamentalists who are trying to wreck Christianity and our democracy. And I'd love for you to join us for our new pay-per-view event recorded live at Union Stage in Washington, D.C. We're doing a book tour with stand-up in a rock club featuring a Q&A with our very special guest, Glenn Kirschner of Justice Matters. Everyone at the live show gets a hardcover copy of the book. There's a VIP meet and greet as well. Tickets at unionstagepresents.com. If you can't make it to D.C., the show will also be streaming and on demand November 15th at meethook.live/John F. That's meethook.live/John F. It's a holiday special for anyone who's ever watched these Christian nationalists on Fox News and thought, Jesus Christ, these people are the opposite of Jesus Christ. Streaming and on demand November 15th at meethook.live/John F.